Hi, my name is Callie Hocuff, and this is my Legal Issues in Kinesiology critical assignment presentation. So, facility background. The facility that I am looking at for the whole class has been like a training facility or a gym, anywhere where you have trainers and an open gym and all of that. Um, Often these facilities offer personal training, they offer group fitness, they offer an open weight room, and so there's a bunch of different jobs that go into running a facility like that. My end goal would be to train trainers in those facilities so that I can help teach the trainers how to best keep their clients and members safe. Um, when we look at these facilities and look at past legal cases about them, there's a bunch of issues that can come up and different reasons that there are lawsuits against these facilities. Kapati versus Crunch Fitness International is one that I found. It was a personal trainer who recommended that her client take a bunch of different supplements and did not know that the client was currently on other medication for hypertension. And taking the supplements on top of the medication the client already was on ended up in her death. Um, and so making sure that any trainer or fitness professional you have in that setting, making sure that they're properly trained and also understand their scope of practice is very important. Um, Marcus versus Scandinavian Health Spa Inc. and also Profit versus Global Fitness Holdings LLC. Both are personal trainer negligence. Marcus was a personal trainer, had their client do a leg press, and during the leg press, the client felt a radiating pain from the neck down the arm. The personal trainer thought it was just weakness in the upper body, but it turned out that the client had three ruptured discs in the cervical spine. And so the personal trainer was found guilty of negligence. And then, and then Profit versus Global Fitness Holdings was the trainer. It was the first session. The trainer pushed the client, and the client ended up being pushed too hard and ended with rhabdomyolysis, which caused severe damage in the quadricep muscles. And so that trainer was also found guilty of negligence. So being aware that those kind of things can impact the facility, not just the personal trainer, if you're operating a facility like that, is very important. Risk management. So I think the most important things in terms of risk management, if I was running a gym facility of any kind, the first thing I would make sure is that any personal trainer training inside the gym or the facility understood their scope of practice, understood what they're allowed to do. We talked about the Kapati versus Crunch Fitness already, where the trainer had the client go on supplements and was not aware of that. NASM recommends that they tell you no one is allowed to provide any sort of dietary plan or suggest supplementation unless they're a registered dietitian. So no one that's even has a personal training certification from NASM or ACSM or any of those organizations is allowed to give actual nutritional advice and that kind of thing, which we see in that court case. Another example is Johnson versus Gold Gym. In this case, a woman was walking outside the gym and there was damaged concrete and she ended up falling and hurting her knee. And so she then sued the facility saying that it wasn't upkept. And so understanding that if you are running one of those facilities, you need to make sure that all of the facility is taken care of and that you make sure that there's nothing dangerous. So ensuring that either yourself or employees are doing walkthroughs around the building and in the building to try to deal with anything that could be a hazard before it becomes an actual problem is very important. Having a strong liability waiver for your facility is also very important. Lund versus Bally's Aerobic Plus is an example of that. The woman Lund, she was injured during a session and tried to sue the gym, but the court found that the waiver was sufficient and that the gym was not responsible because she had accepted the risks and the liability of it by signing the liability waiver. NSCA, NASM, all of those accredited organizations tell you and highly recommend that you should always make sure that you have a good waiver and that it's legally binding and will protect the business and the training facility. Another common problem that can be prevented by using risk management strategies is, like we talked about previously, negligence by personal trainers, making sure that all trainers are properly certified, and also if there's any way to do interviews where you can see if they actually truly understand their scope of practice, where they have a solid knowledge of kinesiology, biomechanics in order to keep their patient or their clients healthy and be able to get them in shape without putting them in any kind of danger is very important. We did talk about the Makris versus Scandinavian Health Spa. And let's see. So going from risk management to employment laws, it's very important that as if you're an owner or a manager running a facility, you understand the laws and how employees have specific rights and how they need to be able to, you need to treat them right and be able to prove if anyone tries to sue you that you did do the right thing in the eyes of the law. Moore versus University of Notre Dame was a man was fired from his position, his coaching position, and he claimed that he was only fired due to his age, not because of any other reason. And the court found that Notre Dame did not have any other reason. And Moore ended up winning over $75,000 in the case. So making sure that if you are going to terminate someone, there has to be a true reason. It can't just be age. Another similar employment law, you can't fire someone just because they're pregnant. EEOC versus Lifetime Fitness, Inc. Is a case where a woman was fired and she believed it was only because they found out that she was pregnant. And so she took them to court and it was found that they had no other reason other than the fact that they found out she was pregnant. So you're not allowed to discriminate based on someone being pregnant. And if you do, you can be found guilty in a court of law. And then, of course, it's very important to make sure that you do not have any sexual harassment going on in your facility. EEOC versus LHC Operating LLC, Lakeshore Sport and Fitness, is one where a woman came forward and said that she was sexually harassed by a fellow employee. And it also came out that two other women were harassed by the same employee. And he ended up being found guilty, and also the facility ended up being found guilty of not listening to her initial complaint about it. And so it's very important to take anything that anyone says about sexual harassment seriously. It has to be looked into and treated very importantly, because you don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable when they're working in your facility. And going on to application of what I've learned through this course, it's very important risk management and working to identify possible risks before they become a real problem, making sure that the facility is well kept and that equipment is upkept and any sort of weightlifting machine is upkept, the outside premises is kept safe and orderly, and there's no broken concrete and there's no boulders and there's no stuff that people could get injured on. If you live in a place like where I do, where it snows, you need to make sure that there's proper snow removal and people aren't in danger because of that. Making sure that your employees are properly certified can help prevent a lot of issues with negligent trainers and that sort of thing. So just make sure that there's a rigorous process before hiring any personal trainer or group fitness instructor to make sure that they understand their role and what their job entails and their scope of practice. And also, it's important to make the facility standards and beliefs known. So if you make it very clear that your facility does not condone any sort of sexual harassment and does not condone any other sort like foul language, they don't condone discrimination, and you make that clear to everyone, it helps that if someone tries to accuse you of something, if you made it clear that your facility doesn't support that, it can help protect you legally also. And then also, if I were to own one of these facilities or be in charge, I would work to make the facility a very safe place for employees and members. So if any employee or member ever felt like they were harassed or they were discriminated against or anything, I would want to make sure that they knew that they could go to management or to me and make it a very like open door policy where they know that if they have an issue, they can come to me or someone else in charge about it, and it will be taken seriously and will be dealt with. And so making sure that everyone knows that that's very important to you and to the management can help prevent a lot of issues from going further because they know that you will deal with it properly. Faith integration. There's a lot of verses, I think, that can go into running a gym or being an owner or being a boss of any kind. The first one that I think stands out the most to me is Philippians 2:3-4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. So even if you run your own business, you should be doing it for the benefit of everyone else, for your members, for your employees. It shouldn't all just be about you trying to make money, trying to be successful. You need to be putting everyone else first. And even if you're in charge of it, it needs to be clear that your employees and your members or clients or whoever it is the priority, and you put in the time and the effort to make them feel cared for and loved, just how Jesus makes all of us feel that way and treats everyone with that kind of compassion and care. The second one is Galatians 6:9. Let us not be weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So this to me kind of speaks to not taking shortcuts, not trying to cheat and do something so that you can benefit easier or with less effort or quicker. If you just do the right thing, treat all of the people around you correctly, and eventually, if God willing, you be successful. But it's always worth it to always treat people right and do things morally and in an upright way instead of trying to cheat the system and kind of get away with things. I've been in situations working at a gym where the owners tried to not pay out commissions and they would fire people that they just didn't like and all of these bad things, and it just left a really bad taste in my mouth. And so to me, it'd be so important being in charge of one of those kinds of businesses to make sure that everyone felt that they were treated right. And if anyone had a problem, they are more than welcome to come to me and talk about it. And the third verse that I really like is 1 Timothy 4:8. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has a value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. And I really like this one because even though I'm getting my master's in kinesiology and I do personal training and fitness is one of my most passionate things in my life, it is a good reminder for me that even though my goal is to be fit and help others be fit, that is not the most important thing in this life. The most important thing is that we are trusting in God and we believe in Him and His Son, and we do everything for His glory. So it's not to make ourselves look good. It's not to win a competition or anything like that. It's more important that we live godly lives versus being fit. And so for me, it would be very important to share that with anyone that I work with or anyone that I'm training or members or anything like that. And I think there's not a lot that comes to mind that would be something that if I followed God's word, it would end poorly legally. I couldn't really think of anything. But I do think if you are following the Bible and God's word and you do what He says and treat people how He says, I think being in the fitness industry, you can be very successful. I don't think being a believer will negatively impact how you run your business. And other than that, here are my references, and this has been a great class, and thank you so much.